Mayor, Council, I was asked to prepare a statement in regard to the investigation on the recall petitions. Any crime perpetrated against any citizen, business, or entity in the city of Windcrest is treated with professional law enforcement response as well as with care and compassion for the victim or victims. Despite the Windcrest Police Department being extremely capable of conducting any and all criminal investigations, some investigations do require the assistance of an outside agency to avoid any perception of bias and or favoritism. The Windcrest Police Department was contacted regarding alleged forgeries of personal information on recall petitions that were submitted to the City of Windcrest City Secretary's Office for verification. The preliminary investigation determined that 2 deceased persons were listed on the petitions along with forged signatures, and in excess of 90 affidavits were received indicating these forgeries and the fraudulent use of identifying information regarding approximately 34 victims. Due to the nature of this specific investigation, I contacted outside agencies, as is normal protocol, regarding investigations such as this one. An outside agency inquiry was conducted through the Texas Rangers in conferring with the Bexar County District Attorney's Office, and the results of which are indicated by the following. Due to the sheer volume of probabilities and suspects related to the forgeries, this inquiry introduced challenges. There is no accountability attached to the recall petitions to hold the person seeking the signatures accountable. The reliance upon handwriting analysis is circumstantial and highly subjective. The harm of the forgeries can be argued to be null due to the disqualification of the petitions due to the blatant actions of the persons or persons involved in collecting the signatures. Because of the rejections of the petitions, one can argue the harm from the forgeries is also rectified. The result of these challenges will close this issue without further investigative actions. This is due to the lack of prosecutable violations. As with any offense involving one victim or many victims, the perpetrator or perpetrators should always be held accountable, and justice for the victim or victims should always prevail. It is truly unfortunate that this is not the case with this specific investigation. Despite the outcome of this investigation, the Windcrest Police Department continues to enforce the law fairly, equally, and unbiased through thorough and complete investigations, even those unpopular as they may appear, and we will continue to pursue offenders aggressively and to the fullest extent of the law, no matter who the offenders may be. That is my statement regarding the investigation after conferring with the Bexar County District Attorney and the Texas Rangers.
Is it safe to say that crimes were committed?
Yes, sir, they were.
Okay, so there were crimes committed.
Yes, sir.
And I'm paraphrasing, but the problem is that it is extremely difficult based on the signature pages, etc., to verify who obtained the fraudulent signatures.
That is correct.
Part of the reason I want to do a review of the charter is, if this were done right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if this was done right, every one of those pages would have had someone who verified those signatures were accurate, and therefore that person could be held accountable.
Yes,
the
sir.
problem we have is we have multiple pages, and apparently very few people who are willing to say they actually got those signatures. But if we had that, if we had some sort of a verification on those forged signatures, we could then proceed with some prosecution.
Yes, sir.
That'd be great. Great, Chief.
I think that it's important to understand that there's a statute of limitations on this crime,
Yes.
and things could change.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is not a close to where it's closed temporary. It still could amount to something else at a later time. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And I was in no way involved in this, but is it possible or likely that fraud was committed on both sides?
I couldn't answer that. I couldn't answer. I don't think I'd want to answer that at this point. We do know crimes were committed. Absolutely.
Is it safe to say the only evidence you have of a crime are fraudulent signatures?
Yes, sir.
All right.
But we don't know who they are. Am I correct?
We know they're fraudulent.
Through the affidavits we received, we do know those were definitely confirmed to be fraudulent. Yes, absolutely.
Now, if someone knocked on my door in this process and they told me you're signing an agreement to do some public works or some street repair, and I signed to that based on that information, is that a crime?
Yes, sir.
So if I could identify those people, they could be prosecuted.
Could be prosecuted.
Because that's
yes.
probably voter fraud.
I'm not. It would fall under a forgery. It'd fall under fraudulent activity. Yes.
If a person came to my door and said, "I want you to sign this petition because Reese and Pedrati have a lawsuit, and they want you to pay their legal expenses," which is absolutely untrue, that would also be voter fraud.
Yes. Yes, sir.
And if those people were identified, they could be prosecuted.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Let me ask you one more question. How does that work if somebody gives me a document to sign and on top of the document it says what it is, and I sign saying I want to have the streets fixed? I don't understand. If at the top of the document said whatever it said about a recall, I presume, then why? And if I signed that, then I claim that somebody said that it was to fix the streets?
Well, I think what was said was if somebody brought a petition to you, and it was this petition that was filed by this petitioners committee with the allegations that they had made, and instead of purporting that to be the document you were signing, instead said, oh, here's something, I want you to sign it, it's to fix the streets and to look at better, get more businesses in, and then you signed it based on the information that was given to you, that's voter fraud.
I agree.
That's it.
I'm just saying, I think I would look at,
I'm sure you would,
and I would
but
say go for it, yeah.
if somebody purported differently to you, that's voter fraud.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.